Alright, this is classifying triangles from your angles and triangles unit, and it is on student handout 3. So we're going from angles, talking about triangles now. Alright. Triangles can be named by their 3 angles. Let me get my pen. Angles can be named in 2 different ways. For example, I have a triangle ABC here. It's shown right here. If I'm talking about angle A, obviously I'm talking about this angle right here. Okay? Angle A is one way I can call it, or I can call it by its 3 angles. I told you last lesson the angle that was in the middle was your most important one because that was your turn in the shape. So whatever angle you want to look at, that letter has to be in the middle if you're listing it by 3 letters. So I could call angle A BAC, or I could call it CAB. So there's 3 different ways I could call angle A. I could call it angle A, angle CAB, or angle BAC. So another way to call angle B could be ABC or CBA, as long as B is in the middle. All 3 of these is representing this B angle. Then lastly, angle C, obviously I could name it angle C, or ACB, or BCA. All 3 of those are ways to indicate this angle measure. Alright, the sum of the 3 angles of a triangle, so all 3 angles of a triangle, always, no matter the size, will always add up to 180 degrees. Okay, I'm going to show you a little video clip of how this actually works. You ripped off the 3 angles of a triangle. Let me rewind here. So you can cut out any triangle. You rip off the 3 corners of that triangle, place them all together, all the angles you ripped off together, it will always form a straight line, which is 180 degrees. So that is why 3 angles of a triangle, no matter how you cut the triangle, will give you 180 degrees. So a little trick of how you know 3 angles of a triangle will equal 180 degrees. Back to our notes, we know the sum of all 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180. We can always use that information about a triangle to help us set up an equation to determine any missing angle measurements. Okay, now talking about side lengths of a triangle. We just talked about the angles, now we're going to talk about the side lengths of a triangle. The side lengths of a triangle correspond with the angle measures opposite side. Okay, so if I'm looking at this triangle ABC here, and I want to see what angle corresponds to side AB. Here's side AB. The angle that is opposite of it, or is not even touching it, you can draw a line to it, is its corresponding angle. So the corresponding angle to line AB is going to be angle C. It has nothing to do with making up that angle. Side BC then, here's side BC. I need the angle that has nothing to do with that line. It's opposite of it, so it's all the way over. It has to be angle A. And lastly, line CA here, its opposite corresponding angle would have to be angle B. The reason we like knowing that is because if I have a big old obtuse angle somewhere in my triangle, whatever side's opposite of that, I know is going to be the longest side. If I have a real tiny acute angle over here, whatever's opposite that is going to be a real cute small line. So the angles and the side lengths correlate some. So getting into that, the smallest angle will have the opposite, the shortest side. So the smallest angle has the shortest side of its opposite, while the largest angle will have the, here's the largest one, and it will have the longest side. A side is congruent to another side if it has an equal length. Congruent, we talked about before, means the same measure. There's a symbol we're going to start using that you need to write down. And the symbol for congruent is an equal sign with like a wavy equal sign on top. That is the symbol for congruent. So instead of writing that word, remember math people are lazy, we use this symbol instead. Alright. So moving on here, triangles can be classified according to their side lengths and their angle measures. Side lengths and angle measures. So we're going to look at the side lengths and angle measures and see how these can be named. Looking at side lengths, we can have an equilateral triangle. That is where a triangle that has three sides that are all equals. These little tick marks, the one tick marks, mean all three of these sides are equal. Notice this says all three sides are, and it used its congruent symbol. So all three sides are congruent or equal. Equal sounds like, equilateral sounds like equal. That's how I remember it. Isosceles triangle has two sides that are congruent. That's what these one tick marks mean. And it has two base angles that are congruent. So these two angles that it's sitting on, the base, have one little curved line, meaning they are congruent. These tick marks mean the sides are congruent. The little arc marks mean the angles are congruent. Isosceles mean only two sides are congruent. Last one is a scalene triangle. A scalene triangle has no sides that are congruent. No tick marks. No sides are congruent. That's classifying triangles by its side length. Now we're going to classify them by their angle measurements. We've heard of acute, right, and obtuse. So basically the same difference. An acute triangle is a triangle that has three acute angles. All angles are acute. A right triangle obviously is going to have a triangle that has a right angle, and the other two would then have to be acute. Because remember, no angles of a triangle can add up past 180. They all equal 180. So that means these two would have to be acute, and you would have one right triangle. And lastly, our last triangle has to have one obtuse angle. There's your obtuse angle. And then the other two would have to be acute. For angle measurements, angles are named by their largest angle measure. So if the first thing you see is an obtuse angle, and then you see an acute, this is not an acute angle. It's named by the largest one. So I had it acute, and obtuse. The largest thing I listed was obtuse, so this is an obtuse triangle. Same thing here. Acute, right. Largest one I listed was a right, so this is a right triangle. This, none of them get bigger than an acute angle, so all three are an acute. All right. You have some images here and some questions. I'm going to pause the video for you to practice A through F, then start the video back up again to review your answers. Okay, it says which side corresponds to angle MNO. So I'm looking at MNO triangle, and it said what side corresponds to it. Well, I see N is in the middle, so I need to find its corresponding side. N is my angle I'm looking at. I need to find the angle across, or the line across from it. So that would have to be MO or OM. And the line on top indicates that this is, I'm talking about a line segment. Which side corresponds to angle TUS? So I'm looking at TUS triangle here. U is in the middle. So I was talking about angle U. Says which side corresponds to it. Across from it is line ST or TS. Same difference. C says which side corresponds to the angle VXW. So I'm looking at this triangle. X is in the middle, and it asks what side is corresponding. So I need to go across. Line VW or WV would be corresponding to that line. Okay, D. Which angle will be the smallest in the triangle PQR? So I'm looking at this. I see that I have a triangle, and I have an acute angle right here, an acute angle right here, and this one's going to have to be acute. They want to know what is going to be the smallest. I don't know what this guy is, but I know that all three angles of a triangle add up to 180. So I could do X plus 41.4 plus 72 or 77.2. I can get my calculator. we'll figure up that 180 minus 41.4 minus 77.2, that this other angle here is going to be 61.4 degrees. The question asks which angle will be the smallest in this triangle. So it looks like angle P is going to be the smallest, so I could list it as angle P, or they have it listed here with 3 where P is in the middle, RPQ. Either way is correct. E, which angle will be the largest in triangle MNO? So I'm looking here. They gave me one for M. They gave me one for O. That's 90. I have to find N. Well, I know 3 angles of a triangle again add up to 180. So I can do 180 minus 90 and get 90 minus 28 point, is that 28? Yeah, 28.7. And see that this angle here is 61.3. It asks what angle is going to be the largest. I really didn't even have to figure that out. I wasted time because it's not going to be bigger than 90 degrees because it's an acute. So I could have stopped here and said angle O is the largest. And they wrote it angle NOM, where O was in the middle. F, how can angle MON be classified? MON. O is in the middle, so O has to be a right angle. Okay, moving on. I'd like you to pause the video and try number 2 and number 5. Play the video to see the solution. Okay, the answer to number 2. I know 3 angles of a triangle should add up to 180. So 180 should minus 32 minus 81. And I should get 67 degrees is angle B. 5 says we have a triangle, has an acute angle. So I'm going to draw a triangle. My triangle diagram doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to call this J, H, L, says which measures 65. Oh wait, sorry. Triangle has an angle HLJ, so L is in the middle, measures 65, so L is 65 degrees. LJH, J's in the middle, measures 50. And we've got to find the other missing angle. Okay, obviously this is going to be an acute triangle, looking at their diagram that they drew a lot prettier than mine. But it doesn't matter, I just had to sketch something to see it. I need to find what H is, so I'm going to do 180 minus 65 minus 50, and I'm going to find that that angle measurement is 65 degrees. Okay, number 6. I'm going to do number 6 with you. They want us to classify it by its side, so what name by its side would it be? By the angle, so what name by the angle would it be? And then find x. Okay, well by sides, I'm looking at these tick marks. Each of them have 2, so that they each have the same number, meaning they all are the same size. So same sides is an equilateral. Anytime you have an equilateral, you're never going to have an angle bigger than an acute angle. So that means this triangle is going to be an acute triangle. And if you have an equilateral triangle, that means all 3 angles are going to equal the same. Since all 3 sides are the same, all 3 angles are also the same. So how many x's do I have here? 1, 2, 3. So I know 3 x's should add up and give me 180 degrees. I need to figure out what one of them would be. So I'm going to divide by 3 and find out that x is 60 degrees. So each angle is 60 degrees. Okay, try 7 and 8. Then we'll play the video and see your answer. Okay, by sides I don't really see any tick marks or anything, and I'm not really sure if it's a scalene or an isosceles. If it was an equilateral, I would see all sorts of tick marks. So I'm going to skip side for right now and go to angle. And I see I have 118, which is an obtuse, and I said obtuse angles always have 2 acute angles. This one's going to be an acute. So by the angle, I know this triangle is an obtuse triangle. Well, I need to find this side here. Well, I know 3 angles of a triangle should add up to 180. So 180 minus 118 minus 34 is going to give me 28. So this is 28. So I wanted to find my angles to know if my sides were the same. If I had any angle measures that were the same, it could be an isosceles or possibly, like this one, an equilateral. But they are all different. That means all my sides are different. That means if your side lengths are all different, this has to be a scalene triangle. Alright, number 8. Again, I don't really see tick marks. I see this is a 90 degree, so obviously this is going to be a right angle. I don't really know what this guy is. I'm betting these two are not the same size, so it wouldn't be anything other than a scalene, but you always have to double check. So I know this guy's 90, he's 57, I have to find this guy. So I know all 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180, so 180 minus 90 is 90. 90 minus 57 gives me 33 degrees. So I see none of the degree measures are the same, so that means none of my side lengths can be the same. So if no side lengths are the same, that is also a scalene triangle. Alright, you have homework 3 to practice, and I'm checking tomorrow. Thanks for listening and hope you make a good grade.